like a cloud holds a lot of rain. Love hurts. Love hurts. I'm young.
I can't suffer much more of that, but it was the only like cheesy AI I could find that wouldn't give me a copyright strike, because one of these days I'll get monetized or something and I'll have to get rid of it all. So let's back her off just a tad. You know something? I have 12 different videos to make, and I thought I got to throw this on a deadline. I was reading a little article this morning. That's why I want to get on here live and get some of your feedback and stuff and talk about how weaponized love, basically what canon law is today, because we say marriage is love, which you've heard, that sort of thing, and how canon law is killing your marriage because of, like this chick, you know, she's talking about how love hurts and whatever, even though it was originally a Nazareth song, the guy sang it. The whole notion that marriage is primarily about love, now it's in canon law, kind of wrecks everything. So I was just reading, like I said, this so Sede, by the way, here, let me put him on here. I don't know how we're going to get through all these. I think Sede's doing his thing at the same time. Yes, you were. I don't know who sniped who, but you have twice the capability of me at least. So, you know, whatever. I'm just dealing with what I can do. Let's hide this. Now, I'll tell you something. So I'm looking at this Quora article this morning, which talks about the narcissist and how they basically can exploit what's going on with the new code of canon law to torch the place, okay? And they're I'm going to read this article. It's brief. As I'm walking out of church, though, I see this book right here. This is like this Happy Together. I'm like, oh brother, I was at Novus Ordo, right? And this is just your standard Catholic Inc. JP2 stuff, and we're going to go through here a tiny bit. I found some things on the way home. I was looking at it. But let's go through this article here, this weaponized love stuff. All right, let me click on this. And then we're going to, oops, sorry, this one. So yeah, here's the guy. We're going to read this Quora article, and I was looking at this. I'm like, this plays right into the hands of the new code of canon law. People who have this problem, which is a large percentage, the narcissist thing they call it, you know, where they're hurting inside, so they take it out on their spouse or whoever's next closest to them. So I'm saying that the new code, the way it's built, it facilitates this thing. And as I speak, if there's any questions you have, not only in the stream but also in the comment section, all right. This is important, I thought, and like I said, let's start with this. It's not long, so we're going to go through it, okay? Do narcissists suffer? So that's the question. Okay. Yeah. Yes, they suffer from the day their underdeveloped brains flip that switch to self-survival. So we need to know what we're talking about. There's a large percentage of people who enter into this marriage, this total gift of self stuff, which is like you don't want to walk into something with somebody who has this narcissism thing if marriage is not about the law so much, but it's about love, okay? Because you're going to get slain and they'll have the right to do it. That's the point, okay? So I think I'll go like this. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. You'll just have to trust me what it says, okay? If you can't see it. And I got it on the show notes and stuff. That day, they realize in their young lives, so these narcissist people typically, you know, age 3 to 5 or something hits them. Something bad happens. Typically, it's the family upbringing or something. They get whacked somehow, and they need to retreat into a false self to survive emotionally, all right? So anyone who's had trauma young, like Father Ripperger says, you've got to iron this out before you die, because no one goes to heaven with wounds. So, okay. That day they realize their young lives that they will never get what they seek. Okay. So yeah, they want a loving, reciprocal relationship that is based on unconditional love. Oh, maybe that's why they want this new definition of marriage so much, this total gift of self, because that's what they really want, of course, but it's just so crazy. Okay. So they're looking for love, but they don't have it inside and but you have to listen. Let's keep reading, okay? A narcissist suffered this themselves, and they too flipped that switch, okay? Rightly or wrongly, they did at some point. But this is buried deep within themselves. And the only way that they know how to deal with the lack of love and nurturing that was not provided to them is to not give it to anyone else. Boom. I was reading this morning with my, what do you call it? Coconut oil and cinnamon coffee. I don't put milk in it anymore. I'm getting skinnier, you see. Anyway, was not provided to them. So they got an emotional deficit growing up. That's what's going on. Now, let's keep reading. In some warped way, they give a love that comes with conditions. If you do this, then you are worthy of love. Dare to reject the love being provided, and you are bad and unworthy and defective. This is I'm repeating myself for emphasis. When we have marriage as a total gift of self, you are setting yourself up for failure, because not only can nobody do that, but these narcissists, these walking wounded, love is on their terms, okay? And typically it's the female, typically it's the wife anyway, because they tend to be, their emotions are stronger and less governed by truth often. So they just do what they're more loyal to their emotions, okay? They dare to reject love being provided, and you are bad and unworthy and defective, incapable of love or ever feeling what it is like. So sounds familiar to people who have gotten the annulment or whatever. You're incapable. You don't have capacity of love. Yes. Sounds like canon 1095.3. Are you capable of what is essential? And they're saying so if the new code of canon law is saying love is essential, you're incapable of love or ever feeling what it is like. So these people who have this deficit inside because they got hurt when they were little, they can't give what they don't have or what they have buried for safety's sake, okay? Therefore, when it comes out, when real marriage starts to happen, they'll say, well, I could get this annulment because it sounds like you're not capable. And that's like music to the ears of the tribunal. And of course, now that, as you know, I've said it a zillion times, since love is no longer a contract but a covenant of love, divorce is not a sin. My priest friend of mine, yes, I have a priest friend. He sent me an article in our Sunday Visitor how they're saying, well, canon law holds a huge loophole. You can do it on your own. I am going to skewer that article later. Like I said, there's far too much to do. Let's keep going. They project themselves, their faults, their wrongdoings onto others. I got no comments yet. Anyone in the comment section? There's got to be somebody. That's all right. I'm fine without it. We got to keep working. They project themselves, their faults, their wrongdoings onto others. Yes, that's true, because you cannot, if you have this narcissistic wound, you cannot self-reflect. It's like the monster at the end of this book with Grover, or it's like the man behind the curtain at Wizard of Oz. Anything but going there. We're not going there because it has been reinforced as a not safe place, and highly so. In fact, some of these people would rather die than get therapy in this department. Just it's a like no-go zone. I'm going to kill somebody rather than having to deal with my inner child that's wounded. That's where we're at. They project themselves, their faults, their wrongdoings onto others, whom could be family, friends, or coworkers. Anyone that can take the hit and the pain away from the narcissist. Yeah, so when things are bad, what do? You blame anyone out there, not you. You blame someone else. It's the only way, because they're not able to go, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I got to work on this stuff. No. They're not going to do it. Here, let's put this comment up real quick. Interesting thinking about trauma. My inner child grew up even through trauma. Yeah, everyone has to. That's the thing Father Ripperger says. That's another video I got to do. Father Ripperger hit it out of the park. He's like, you have to take care of your wounds when you get a chance. Somewhere between age 3, age 7, and age 99. Okay, you may have inherited it, but you got to deal with it, and it's painful, very painful. And the longer you let it sit there and not mess with it, the worse it gets, I guess. Okay, now then. They are suffering unimaginable pain internally. Can't confirm. I would imagine so, because people who are living a lie, if you've got stuff inside you can't let out, and you always have to keep a false self going, and you can tell. I've heard it said that whoever gets triggered in an argument is wrong, and I tend to agree with that, because if you touch something that's basically a not safe place on somebody, they're gonna freak out a little bit. And that's because they can't deal with the truth. They're suffering unimaginable pain internally. And the sad part of this is a human with no ability to see that, no way to self-reflect on themselves and see the wrong that they are. I would disagree with that a little bit. They have no ability to see. Now, everyone has the ability. They just choose not to. It's kind of like, I don't know. If you do enough crack, it's really hard to sort of be normal, be straight, but you got to try to get out of that hole, okay? So if you do enough narcissistic behavior and you keep, your false self, and you keep that going real hard, and you can't be transparent with people that actually can help you out, then yeah, you're kind of sealing your own fate, I guess. So I wouldn't say they have no ability, but it's highly unlikely. That's what I'm saying. It's just like highly unlikely for Protestants to be saved. They're in a loop. I interpret my Bible myself, and there you go. So it's very difficult. So these narcissist people, it's real tough. Okay. And I'm getting my main point of this video. Like I said, if we're going to look at a little canon law in a minute, and how canon law just plays right into this person that we're talking about. No way reflect on themselves, see the wrong they are. They cannot do that, so everyone else is the problem. Yes, they cannot do that. They can't self-reflect. They won't self-reflect. It's going to just drive them nuts. So everyone else is the problem. Pass a narc in the street, work with one, socialize with one. You will never see the depth of torment that riddles their defective existence. I don't know how accurate that is, but chances are, yeah, there are people who, because a lot of times like take for example a demon. Their goal is to destroy you, hurt you. The only thing that makes a demon feel any better, any relief, is to hurt others, to spite others. That's the only thing that relieves them. It's kind of like if you do road rage, it helps you feel a little better for a minute. Okay, so anyway, these people have a lot of bile or whatever in there. It's emotional bad in there, and it's the only thing they can do is get it out on other people, right? Like you have to throw up sometimes. You just got to get it onto other people and blame them. And this is what's going on. But hang on, we're going to get to the canon law part. They are suffering immensely, and they cannot help themselves. Like I said, I think they can help themselves because everybody can be saved, okay? And typically, people don't change till there's enough pain. That's kind of how it goes. So they can help themselves, but it's very unlikely. But with grace, and if you pray for them, they make others suffer instead. Yes, they do, because it is the world that made the narc the way they are, according to them, and the world needs to pay the price. Exactly. You meet people that they're mad at Whitey, they're mad at the businessman, whoever. Okay, and so they're going to push back against it. All right. I think, keep going. In the narc's world, the depths of hell, there is no peace, no resolve, no way of knowing. Just who this suffering, I'm going to see if this little thing shows the, no, it doesn't. Never mind. All right. So the depths of hell, there is no peace, no resolve, no way of knowing just who this suffering human really is. Yes. In other words, you're trying to, like one thing there's that really great video. I should put this in the show notes. It's only 4 minutes long. It's Jordan Peterson. He speaks of the shackles of marriage. And he says the reason why you handcuff yourself together is to know the truth about each other. And there's no getting away. And this is what the narcissist will want to do when people start figuring the truth out. They absolutely cannot handle it. They will do anything. They will bite their arm off to get away. Canon law, However, there is a certain percentage who, again, I disagree that narcissists have like no will and no ability to self-correct or anything. They just choose not to, particularly when they're told by their priest and their bishop and the canon law that you can bail on the marriage, no problem, and get an annulment. Okay? This is like music to their ears. That's why they keep going. It's a revolving door for them. So it's marriage permanence that heals people with this problem. Let's go with this on. What are you saying? This is the real information we need to deal with trauma and narcs. I live this drama. Oh, you and about 5 million other people in this country, or more than that. A lot of people. There's so much walking wounded out there, tons. And to enter marriage with this, this is why people are like bailing on marriage, because the damage, you can't always see it, and then it comes out. Now you pick up a hitchhiker and then they turn from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde, or however that works, and you're like, whoa, what happened? But you're in the car with them and it's too late. You know what I mean? You've got to make sure there's healthy boundaries in the marriage based on the law, and you don't enter the contract unless we discuss that first. All right, now the world is on fire. Their world is on fire and brimstone, and they will happily, without remorse, make you pay for the hell they are suffering. Exactly. Misery loves company. The demons want you in hell. The demons want you to feel what they're feeling. That is the only way they get relief. So once you are not making them feel decent because you're not putting up with their stuff or whatever, they're going to turn, and there's people who know way more about narcissism than me, but this article was really good, and I started really thinking about it as how it dovetails to this canon law. You are setting yourself up for the slaughter when you enter a 1983 code marriage without knowledge of what you're really doing. This is kind of why I'm making some of these videos. Welcome to Crematoria. You will suffer and burn with the narc's world. You will feel the pain that cripples the narc. They will never accept responsibility for their actions, which is why we must have, like they said, back before the Beatles, all separations were on church property. They were separation courts. We had fault-based. This is where fault-based divorce comes from. It comes from the Catholic Church. However, the narcs just don't want to go there. The last thing they want to do is bring the law into the he said, she said. The last thing, because they got nothing. It's anyway, so you must take what was so generously given to you by the narc, their gift to you. That's it. They're suffering. Exactly. However, what happens is they won't honor the marriage contract because to them, Vatican II says they can get out of it. So they do. And again, this is life and death to them. I've said this before. If I come to you and I'm going to take away your oxygen supply, that gets real serious. And you are going to do whatever it takes to not allow me to succeed. And this is similar to the way these guys are. They will do whatever they can to not have to, quote, go there, all right? Unless they have a big enough attack of conscience and they don't push the snooze button but actually act on it. Okay, Thistledown, you're on a roll here. What'd you say? You just said it. Marriage fixes it. Long, loving, stable marriages fixes this wound. It's awful to be married, but marriage heals them and us. That's right. But and if you're on the short end of this, it's called white martyrdom. The good thing is, if you know where your frame is, if you know what you're doing, you can deal with it. But if you're told your frame is nothing but clouds of love in the air, it's really hard to deal with. Okay. They're suffering. You will burn if you accept the narc's reality. Okay. Yes. So, we'll go down to this canon law in a minute. Let's go to this book now. All right. Hang on a second. This John Bosio, I don't even know who this guy is. He's just some Catholic Inc. JP2 sort of dude, and he's a boomer. And like I said, I found the book this morning, and I'm going, all right, let's check it out. So, one of the first parts he says on page, and then we'll be done here in a minute. The first part in page 59, he references 2361 of the CCC, okay, which is right here. Sexuality by means of which man and woman give themselves to one another through acts which are proper to and exclusive to spouses is not simply something biological. Oh, okay. So Again, this is all imprecise. It doesn't say marriage is instituted for something more than biology, or what is essential is more than biology. It just generally talks about some words that make you suspect that it's more than biology, okay? It's not simply, but concerns the innermost being of the human person as such. So all this dovetails with Gaudium 50 and 48. It is realized in a truly human way only if it is an integral part of the love by which man and woman commit themselves totally to one another until death. What a bunch of yuck. All right. This, again, good fences make good neighbors. But if your neighbor is allowed your innermost being and is allowed more than biology and take over your whole house, you're like, hey, man, no. There's like a limit here, okay? It's right over the body for acts, not right over the soul for acts, okay? Now, this whole business, all this New Vatican II poetry, schmooze, homo, yuck, is very dangerous, because when you get in the ring with the person we just discussed, the narcissism person, that gets really dangerous. And you have no defense except to continue giving your neck and those big veins right there and your wrist to them so they can slice you, because you just have to, quote, give your total self to them. Hold on. Diego's fired up. Too complicated, in my opinion. We just need to repent and convert and ask for forgiveness. Even Father Ripperger said that the wounds are not to blame, but how we respond to them. The Catholic faith is not too complicated. I think what you're trying to say, though, man, is that if you make marriage too hard, I can't deal with it. Well, it's really easy. You have the right over the body for acts, and the husband wears the pants. Pretty simple. That's not complicated. We just make it complicated with a bunch of other stuff. All right. If I answered that, if I got you right, Diego. Juan Diego. Too complicated. We just need to repent and convert. Okay, yeah, everyone needs to repent and convert. Now, everyone, duh. But you need to be more specific. How's that? Now, let's just go through the book here real quick. You'll just have to trust me what it says. This is on page 93. I feel like I'm a little teacher in the schoolroom reading this. Like, I remember just getting that read to all the time when I was little. So it says, page 93. Okay, according to John Paul II, Christian spouses are equal in Christ. Wow, that sounds great. And like Trent Horn used to say to Pearl Davis, aren't men and women equal in dignity? And she's like, well, yeah, but what do you mean exactly? She didn't know exactly what she was talking about, but she is correct. Pearl has some very good horse sense on this. Women are not equal in dignity, but they are equal in some ways, okay? So I wanted, this is just, like I said, just took a quick look at this. Let's answer that for a second. Verse 13. So this is St. Thomas Aquinas and Cornelius a Lapide. For Adam was formed first, then Eve. Adam was not seduced, but the woman was seduced in sin. This means woman must remain silent and learn and not teach and be subject to her husband, because the man excels her first because of the dignity of being first in creation. Different dignity, okay? Not equal in dignity. For Adam was created first, then Eve from Adam. Secondly, because of the strength of his intelligence. So guys have a different way of thinking. They think more analytically. It's like, hello, and everyone knows that. For Eve allowed herself to be seduced so easily and imprudently, but not Adam. By the way, when you see love wins, what that really means is she wins, because when there's a tug of war, she gets much more. Her emotions, her persona is much stronger. Typically, his muscles are much stronger. But if he's just commanded, if he's just all this mutual self-submission stuff, she wins. Get another let's see, too complicated. All the narc theory. Yeah, narc theory is everyone's got selfishness. Everyone's on the spectrum somewhere. It's really simple. Like, they hurt people. I'm simplifying it for you, Diego. Okay, but what happens is if you get hurt bad enough, hard enough, it's really hard to go back and pull open that manhole cover and see what's down there and forgive and get rid of it. This is what I understand, because when you were little and this happened, you had no choice but to shove it under the manhole cover in the hole and get it down. And that was your only way to emotionally survive. But because it's not real, you stuff it, and then you deal with life in a fake way. Okay. And that pain in there keeps wanting to come out. When it wants to come out, it's too hard to handle. So you blame everyone else. And that's what's going on. And if we don't have an objective frame and contract for marriage, it's easy to blame. You're not giving me your total self. You're incapable of total self, et cetera, et cetera. Therefore, Primasius teaches, women are implicitly accused of imprudence and live. The apostle teaches that women must be subject to their husbands because they are, okay, there we go. Second in hierarchical order, but first in guilt. That's why they're not equal in dignity, because he was the first to sin, and she was the first to sin. She was the second to be created, but the first in sin. That's it. And Aquinas says the same thing. So there he says discretion of reason predominates in the man, so they're not equal. Okay. Man is further noble action, intellectual operation. So let's see, man is yet further distilled. No, okay. Yeah. All right. So as regards the individual nature, woman is defective and misbegotten. In other words, man is like the perfect image of Christ and the woman is not. However, it says, on the other hand, as regards to human nature, woman is not misbegotten, but included in God's intention as directed to the work of generation. So they are equal in their differing roles, okay, but not in dignity and stuff. It's important to remember that. And the reason why all of that got confused when the Beatles showed up is because of the NFP law and the fact that we must have everything equal now. And when you do that, you let Eve effectively be in charge of Adam. That's what happens, because Adam's not going to do it. If he had a hard enough time being in charge, he's got to know where his boundaries are, or Eve takes over. That's why there's no thing like hell hath no fury like a man scorned. That doesn't exist. She's gonna. Now let's keep going. Let's go to the next page. Okay, here we go. What mutual surrender is not? It says. This got a couple little things here. Self-giving and mutual surrender are the gift of ourself for the benefit. Here, I'll get rid of this for a second. Self-giving and mutual surrender are the gift of ourself for the benefit of the spouse and for the sake of the relationship. Self-giving and mutual surrender are the gift of self. Yeah, so like I said, when you can't define gift of self, which we're going to get to in a minute, where Cardinal Burke says that, then you actually have might makes right. You have the tyranny of self, because it has gift. You can't define it legally. Okay. Self-giving does not mean doing everything your spouse wants you to do. Oh, says who? Because who's to say? It's like, no, you're not loving me. Oh, really? Well, you're not loving me. Okay, well, who wins? She wins. There's your answer. 9 times out of 10. That's how it goes. Okay. Doing things that go against your principles or condoning behaviors that are demeaning to you and not to your spouse. Yeah, so they're basically trying to say, this is the feminist part kicking in. Self-giving does not mean accommodating destructive habits, doing things that go against your principles, or condoning behaviors that are demeaning to you or to your spouse. So this guy is basically saying, in a JP2 total love bomb kind of way, marriage is primarily a self-gift. And now we can't define self-gift, so we're going to say, as long as it doesn't go against your principles or behaviors that are demeaning to you, okay, and your spouse. So those are judgment calls, and when you have one versus another, who wins? Well, if love wins, again, she wins. That's generally the order. Mutual surrender is, this is continuing, mutual surrender is giving while you remain true to yourself. Oh, no. Giving while you remain true to yourself. As in, while I remain, you've heard people who divorce and stuff, I just have to be true to myself. I have to be authentic. I have to do what I get. Wrong. You have to be true to God's will, and God's will is laid out in the contract. Living your state in life, the right over the body for acts, and no family planning. That's what you got to be true to, not yourself, because otherwise it's just more self-worship. Okay? Okay. It is giving while you preserve your integrity. Oh, yeah, infinite dignity and all that. Giving while you preserve your integrity. We've heard about this. In other words, NFP. In other words, marital debt as long as you feel like you want to. So it doesn't exist. This is why I say NFP law kills marital debt law. You can't have them both. You can either have rights or you can have love, but you can't have both. That's why we have lawlessness today in marriage. Doing this sometimes means expressing feelings and opinions that differ from your spouse's. It may mean disagreement and exposing a problem. It may mean confronting unacceptable behaviors. Sometimes challenging your spouse can be an act of love done for the sake of a relationship and for the sake of your spouse. Whatever. All that's obvious here is there's complete lack of authority. So all of this is a recipe for disaster, a setup for failure. You have two CEOs, two people wearing the pants, trying to love their way out of it. Not going to happen. Nope. You got one piece of bread and two people. Somebody's going to fight. Let's see. Is there any more in this book? No, I guess that's it. I mean, there was more, but that's pretty much the main thing. Now, let's continue going through the rest of what I have written here. Hang on a second. Here, like this. Whoops. And then we'll be done. And then we'll knock it off with a song, or conclude with a song, and I want some more questions. Let's see. Hold on. All right. Now that's St. Thomas Aquinas. Okay, we already read this. Hey, is there anything else up top that we missed? No, I guess not. Okay, we got through him. So, we'll get into the canon law in a minute. Now, okay, so by the way, here's Cardinal Burke. Nice Cardinal Burke, super conservative Cardinal Burke. Cardinal Burke is the man, isn't he? Oh, yes. What does he have to say? Here's his quote from, this is like 2011, I think, in Wisconsin. He gave a canon law talk. Remember we said all the stuff about total gift of self and you got to give yourself? Well, you got to give yourself. Well, no one knows what that means. Cardinal Burke says the quiet part out loud. Okay? It goes without saying that not all elements pertaining to the good, the total gift of self, can be considered as essential. Oh, really? If what is essential is what is consented to, that is your frame, that is your institution, that is the thing that matters, okay? Speed limit 25. Doesn't matter how you're feeling at that time, it's 25, man, all right? Oh, boy. Let me finish this point. I will hold on a second. And consequently, the exclusion of the non-essential elements does not bring about the nullity of marriage. That's correct. When you exclude the non-essential, it doesn't affect the nullity. Duh. Okay, what's non-essential? Nowadays, we don't know what non-essential is. It's because marriage is everything. It's total. Total is everything. Everything is essential. But wait, give me a minute. Okay. In other words, while now the good of the spouses, aka total gift of self, is considered an essential element of the life of the spouses, the good of the spouses, there is no accepted description of the essential elements. Cardinal Burke admits he has granted tons of annulments, but there's no accepted description of the essential elements. So everyone you know, every priest you know, every tribunal you know, every bishop you know, is a criminal marriage gangster because they will not tell you the terms of the contract that you are signing in church. And they're saying, give it a whirl, see how it goes. We can't tell you what the essential elements are. Just like the narcissist won't come clean with dealing with their pain. They can, but they don't want to because of the political and emotional cost. Cardinal Burke can, but doesn't want to admit what the essential elements are, because the political and I don't know about the emotional cost. You probably have a heart attack at this point, because all those annulments he granted in Wisconsin and in St. Louis are 99% of them or whatever, 100, but canon 1095 are just wrong. They're all wrong because, okay, if the property lines for essential is to the moon and back when actually it's 10 feet and back, then we got a problem, okay? Anyway, he's admitting he cannot define marriage. For example, okay, so that's that. Let me get to this comment real quick. Okay. What is marital debt? I think a lot of people know that. Maybe you don't know that. Owl at home. Marital debt is 1 Corinthians 7:5, the right over the body for acts. It's do not defraud your spouse. That's what that is. So this is marriage is biology. That's why Christopher West should be reading his book, The Biology Biology of the Body. That's all marriage is biology, because it's nature, all right? You have a right over the body. You don't have the right over the self. This is the change that Vatican II made. It's only in theory, or it's only in practice, but not in theory, because you can't change nature, but that's what they're doing. And this is why Cardinal Burke cannot define marriage. He can define it. He doesn't want to, because his name would be Mud. It would be Mud so fast. Oh, this is part of why I want to get Harrison Butker. By the way, if anyone knows how to reach Harrison Butker, I've tried a bunch of different ways, because Harrison Butker is the biggest name out there that said NFP isn't natural. And this is what we need, is somebody to explain that nature can't be changed. And that's what Harrison Butker has effectively done. Hold on. So that's what marital debt is. 1 Corinthians 7:4, 7:5, right in there. Do not defraud your spouse. This is why the consent happens only once at the altar, not every time. But this total gift of self is code for you. There's no more marital debt. It's consent every time. Hold on target 50. I'll take 15 watching. That's pretty good. Hey, I'll tell you, compared to Catholic Inc., when you start saying the stuff I'm saying, people run the other way real hard. Sort of like avoiding Babylon is avoiding feral apparel, man. Everybody. You don't want to talk about this stuff, because your NFP goes down, annulments go down, and divorce becomes a mortal sin, and you can't have communion. You can't show your face in public anymore in Catholic circles. You're out. OUT. And a lot of these bigger names and stuff, they have money. There's money involved in their YouTube channel. And they don't have the eye of the tiger anyway, so they're just not going to go there. They're just not. They don't have to. Sort of like the narcissist, he or she does not have to come clean, because canon law says, hey, if they can't give you what you want on your terms, they're not capable of marriage, and you can be out. And it's not a sin to divorce anymore, because there is no injustice in divorce, because there's no contract. It's just a love covenant. Okay, nature. What are the effects of allowing NFP? Oh, that's too huge a question, but I'll try it really quick. Allowing NFP changes the natural definition, or the natural telos of the conjugal act, so that you have effectively taken the legal definition of marriage and ruined it. You've made it. You disappeared the legal definition of marriage. So marriage just becomes this total gift of self, because that you can't put that in a bottle, right? That's what NFP does. And it also makes the population dearth permanent, because there's always some. Have you ever felt like not exercising, Owl at home? Has that ever come across to you, like, oh boy, I got to go run some laps or something, but yeah, I'm just not feeling it today? Okay. But if someone showed up with a machete, you would. Okay. It's the same thing with having kids. You're like, I can't have another. Yep. Well, that's what you signed up for. So if there's always a reason for NFP, everyone's got a reason for NFP, and that's going to cause you create all sorts of other issues with the marriage when you start messing with nature. just like these trans people, they're not real happy, a lot of them, and you push them the wrong way and they get kind of freaked out because they're really on the way end of the spectrum of what's unnatural. Selah, candlesticks. Yeah, it's tough being up at this time of night because there's a lot of competition. Okay, cool. Now then, let's hide this. Let's keep going. Okay, here's the Code of Canon Law real quick. This is 1055. Here is the narcissist's favorite canon right here. The matrimonial covenant. Woohoo! It's not a contract anymore. It's a covenant. That just means it's between me and God. That's what that means as far as governance goes. Dog. Man and woman establish between themselves a partnership of the whole of life. Okay, so which by its nature is ordered toward the good of the spouses and the procreation and education of offspring. So people read that and they're like, oh yeah, sounds great. That's what cool, dude. No, listen, you got to break it down. Whoever made this, these guys are like genius level canon lawyer, wordsmith, snakes. That's what it's going on. So the matrimonial covenant in law is the identical thing to the matrimonial contract. So now they're saying in a contract, you establish a partnership. But no, it's a society because a partnership means like the partnership doesn't necessarily have a legal definition, but it means if we're going to say it's a covenant, that we're going to say now that this is a love contract. And the partnership means equal. Everything's equal. Everything. Dignity's equal. Rights are equal. As a side note, as maybe you've heard me say this before, if you think the husband wears the pants in the marriage, your marriage is invalid at your tribunal right now, because marriage is a total gift of self, and it's all this Christ-loving the church business. We'll get to that in a second. I think it's down here later. There's that. Now, so by establish a partnership of the whole of life. Okay, so this partnership, this covenantal partnership you've established, that's not marriage. It's just a partnership. So if you want to establish a partnership, the nature of a partnership is not the nature of marriage. It's a nature of partnership. This is the tricky part. I told you it's really these guys. This is high level demon stuff. Putting this canon law. This is so much smoke and mirrors. Okay. The nature of partnership. It's not the nature of marriage. Now, the nature of partnership means equal everything. Equal partners, equal everything. Good of the spouses. So, no spouse has authority. No spouse has more dignity. No spouse has more say. And the only way to get that is through NFP. The only way. Because if he doesn't want to have kids, he can say no. If she doesn't want to have kids, she can say no. And if everything's love-based, which it has to be for NFP, then you can't have any hierarchy. Okay? This is the nature that they added in there. Let's go to, let's see, 1057. And then I'm going to get to some of your comments here in a second. Here it is. I think that was it, though. This marriage is brought through the consent of the parties, legitimately manifested persons. Okay, here we go. This is it. Okay, here we go. Point 2. Matrimonial consent is an act of the will by which the man and the woman, through an irrevocable, they're just filling in words, word salad here. Basically, consent is to mutually give and accept each other. Consent is to give each other, to give Isa. Here, see, look at the old code. Consent is perpetual and exclusive right over the body for acts which are of themselves. That means nothing else. You don't need anything else. No admixture of love or goodness or any of that. No unity required for the generation of children. But the new law says it's to give and accept themselves, each other, to give and accept self. Now, self has no legal definition. So this is more Vatican II poetry disguising it as law. So when you say speed limit is drive safe, and the police are like, hey, as long as you're under 300 miles an hour, you don't have a jet engine, down the street, it's safe to us. That's where we're at. And people are getting run over. Well, you know what? Free will. God is free will. God allows it. So we allow you to go, I think 300 jurisprudence is going to say 300 miles an hour is reasonable. The narcissist thrives in this environment, just like in Chicago. There's, 100,000 gang members or whatever, more than that. They thrive in that environment because there's no law. When you enter marriage with this 1983 code and not know that you have to revert to the code previous, or even the code previous to that, all the stuff that existed before, to get the Catholic truth, you have to, when there's any ambiguity in law, the canon law, even the new code says you must go to what was previous and harmonize with that, because the Catholic Church, the teaching can't change. Let me get to a couple. I'll finish this in a minute. Consent, man and woman mutually give and accept each other in order to establish marriage. Okay. All right. So, fine. I think we beat that pretty good. That is when you do not nail down the legal object of consent, the body, the biology, and call it self, which is a whole bunch of this kind of stuff, all about super self, happy together forever, da-da-da-da, theology of the body. You got nothing. Let's look at let's look at a few comments here real quick. Equity. Teresa, are you wearing your glasses, Teresa? So many Catholics with annulments, many that never should have been granted. This makes me so upset the church has done this to families. You're darn right. That's kind of why I'm here. Do I feel like being here? A lot of people don't feel like being here, and a lot of people who have good Catholic things don't want to be on YouTube or don't want to be anywhere. They want to be living life, but no one is speaking up, so somebody's got to do it, basically. And it's bad, really bad. I feel so sorry. I remember I was at the airport one day, and I was like 10 at night, and there was some dad with his pulling up in his pickup truck to drop off his 3 little kids. And they had to go obviously flying to mom's house somewhere, and he's hugging his son, his little son, probably like 7 or 6. It was so bad, and that's happening everywhere. And the reason all this happens is in the name of love, dude. That's why. This is why this stuff is evil, sick. It has to be exposed. And Catholic Inc., you can list the name of names: Johnette Benkovic, Rose Sweet, Patrick Coffin. And there's about 50 more. If you get me going, I could think of them all. All those people, they're all in on it. And in fact, like I said, because the bishops are all, this is where their brains are all in this. So everyone's got to go with it. Okay. So yes, the annulments should only be happening if you can't have kids. You don't know where babies come from, and you're not able to do these acts right here. These acts. You can't do the act, can't get married. All right. 2 + 2 is 5. Yep. There's a little bit of that going on for sure. Is there a schedule for your show? No, there's not. I decided, like I said, just to throw this out here because I'm like you. I'm super busy. I got stuff going on all the time. And if I don't schedule it, it just doesn't happen. I mean, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and I want to make good videos, which means I will take hours and hours and hours to prepare for it. It's just hard to do. So I'm like, I'm going to throw this out here and watch what happens. I'm legally blind. Are you legally blonde as well? I thought I saw a picture. With NFP, there is no nature, so I guess you can be blind. Oh, people make jokes. They're like, hey, if NFP is doing nothing, then I'm doing NFP all the time. And will you do NFP with me since it's doing nothing? Annulment proof is the top 5 best. That's hey, I'll take it, man. So like they say, an overnight success is 10 years in the making. For me, it might be 20, but I'm 59, so I'm not getting any younger. I was like, I got to get going no matter how busy I am. And I am busy, like a lot of people. You just got to do what you can do. And so I've gotten this knowledge through going through the ringer and coming out the other side alive. And I've talked to every tribunal in this country like 3 times at least. And I've talked to, they're afraid of me. Canonists are afraid. I'm hoping to talk to any canon lawyer, any. I have I think it's a $50,000 offer out if anyone can prove me wrong on this stuff, that love belongs in marriage. Oh, I had another picture I should have showed you. There's one of Pope Paul VI in 1976, and he says in front of the Roman Rota, marriage exists independent of love. He's exactly right. So he was trying to go back and put the toothpaste back in the tube, but it was too late. Once you start letting love out, It's called free love. This is all marriage is today. It's new Catholic marriage is free love, man. You can get the divorce and annulment and move on as many times as you can, as long as you could live long enough. Okay? This is free love. Bad. Now then, we don't need to read this necessarily. See, I used to. I'm going to in the show notes, you'll see all this stuff so you can read it yourself and ask questions in the comments later. This is really important stuff. P.S. Here's another topic I thought I had. So, Jesus, our Lord, was crucified on the cross. And then he said at the end, he says, it is consummated. So he consummated the crucifixion. Now the cross, the crucifix, is very symbolic. It has a lot of meaning. Okay? Yeah. But as far as the legal, physical is concerned, as far as the Romans were concerned, you needed wood and you needed nails and you needed a victim. That's all you needed. All the symbolism and all the meaning and all the imagery, you didn't need any of it. You just needed nails, a cross, and a body to hammer on there, and that's all you needed those were the essentials for a crucifixion. That's all you essentially needed. And you're like, wow, you're ignoring the depth and the meaning. No, but we are saying that unless you have those basics, those essentials, those legal essentials, you cannot have a crucifixion. It's the same with marriage. You can say marriage is an icon of Christ and his church. Marriage is a deeper meaning. Marriage is a sign, a significance. Okay, but it's not that legally. Legally, it's the right over the body, just like the crucifixion. Those Roman soldiers, they had a job to do, and it didn't have anything to do with meaning or sign or significance. It was get the wood, get the nails, get the guy. That's it. And it's the same with marriage. Now then, we're not going to read all this commentary stuff. We could, but I've done it before, and it's really interesting. And I want you guys to read this. It's totally cool. I tried to make it pretty safe, pretty easy, and then ask questions. Now, is there anything else that I missed? I don't think so. I think that's all we wanted to talk about. But the main thing, like I said, was you have to identify your frame. You've got to go back and get the canon law right, get the definition of marriage right. By the definition means de fine, as in it's done, it's complete, it's not changing, nor is it infinite. It is finite, and you can't maintain your frame without a defined legal object of consent. The new code is built on poetry, which has become legal poetry, all right? But the truth is underneath there. Sort of like if you take a truckload of feathers and put it underneath a piece of gold, the gold is still under there and it's not moved, but all you see is the feathers. And like, this is our new landscape. No, you have to get the feathers away, and that's what the new code is. It's not a definition. It's just a code of goo in the way. And I think it's in the first part of canon law, like canon 6 or whatever. It says, where there's doubt, go back and pick up where you left off. Harmonize everything. On another note, there's a lady I know. She sent me an email recently. She said even Pius X tried to get with the modernists and tried to get with the times, and he was the one who started the whole 1917 code thing. It was finished by I think Benedict XV or whoever. But she was saying Pius X shouldn't have even done that, because we had a nice integral batch of canon law, which grew sort of like the Latin Mass, organically. It grew with the faith. It was woven into the faith. And once you start saying, okay, we're going to make a code of canon law, just like we're going to make a code of city conduct, and we're going to be revising it all the time and change. Now you have to perpetually. So the 1917 code lasted for like 60 years or whatever. Now we got the 83, and that'll last for who knows. They're going to redo it again. Could you imagine what life would be like if we took the 1983 code and produced the 2025 code? Talk about a hoot. Wow. What would they come up with? It would be so nuts. It would be insane. They'd never get it done. There'd be so much fighting. Every little word would be on YouTube and the internet. Oh, you can't So this is the point she was making. I believe that's what she was trying to say, that canon law isn't just about what they write in the code. It's most of it is connected to divine law, and you've got to go back and like look at what all the saints said and stuff. That's my impression. Now let's see if we got some more comments. St. Augustine compared the cross to a marriage bed. Yeah, St. Augustine said a lot of stuff. There's a quote I heard. Everyone loves St. Augustine until they don't. He says he'll kick everyone's booty, basically. He kind of like challenges everybody, really. The cross is a marriage bed. Oh, are you saying that the crucifix is defined? Are you saying the crucifix has borders, boundaries, is legalistic? Couldn't Christ put his hands wherever he wanted? Couldn't he do what he, No. Living your state in life, you're stuck with what it is. You're either having kids or you're working, and everyone's honoring the marital debt. That's it. 11 now. Okay. Even the 1917 code is not ideal then. Well, no code of canon law is ideal. There's canons from 600 years ago that, what did it say? Oh, I remember one. I read it today. It said that if on Friday fish day, you're supposed to have fish, don't try to make it really good fish. Just try to eat something basic, otherwise you're sort of getting into it too much. And that was in canon law. You know what I mean? So the stuff kind of changes. But the point they were saying is when if you read on Wikipedia the 1917 code, it explains that this was the church trying to modernize itself with the rest of the world who all had codes of conduct. Now, once you start, quote, getting everything in a pile, you get it all organized, then you objectify it such that it gets remodeled all the time. It just keeps getting updated and this is part of why if you just left it alone, it may have been harder to handle or harder to administer, but at least it didn't change, and that's just the way it was. Effectively, once you start creating a code of canon law, you've created a perpetual thing that needs to be updated, I suppose. I don't know enough about that topic, but it's kind of interesting. What's in your hand? I keep putting different things in my hand. I have a nail clipper, and right now we're gonna call it good. Thanks for watching, guys. Listen, if you're not against NFP, you're not on the team, so go out there and stay toxic. And what better way to end our stream with more knife bride? That's what they're called, knife bride. Now, you might even call them. I call them knife wife, but this is where I got the picture. Anyway, we'll be signing. Wrong one. TTFN. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to add more questions.
How did I end up here again? Her shadows cut right through me, unraveled all my fears again. I thought you really knew me. Is this what hell is? Now I know it's the hope that kills ya. Is this farewell? 'Cause you're pushing me, making me reconsider.
This picture is what happens.